Hello, this is Lisa Rose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say a big welcome to you, Michael, and also to our audience members, and to those of you who might be new to Connect to Love. I want to say welcome, and I hope that what we share will resonate with you and bring you peace, clarity, and joy. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you as well. People from all over the world listen to this podcast, and I want to acknowledge that I certainly, and I know you too, we appreciate taking the time to listen and hope that you're getting out of this podcast something that can help feed your soul in a way that makes your life more happy, more joyful, more fun, more exciting.
We're absolutely very grateful to each and every one of you. And I have been doing some spring cleaning early, and when I clean, I tend to find little pieces of paper. I try not to write on pieces of paper. I tried to break myself of that habit years ago, but I write on, usually I'll write little things that come to me in books, but I found a piece of paper that I thought was so much in alignment with a video Michael had sent me this morning. And on the piece of paper I wrote down, each additional person who calls upon love creates an exponential increase in the amount of love they can bring to our planet. And it brought forth a lot of very powerful ideas in my mind related to the video that Michael shared with me. And one of the things that I thought was how powerful collective intention is, and that when we learn how our collective focus on love can create a powerful energetic wave, it can transform the world. Each person who calls upon love, is when they meditate on loving feelings or they desire a more loving world, it adds exponentially to the collective energy field. And it amplifies each one of us, our own experience of love, and attracts more love into our lives. One of the things that Esther said in the video is that when we practice the vibration of your best life, it integrates the things that are important to you. And so I thought, okay, so now how can I serve? Because I think that that's part of who I am and what I was called here to do. As you, I'm sure, Michael, you are here to assist humanity, to assist the people in your local community. I think we all are. And how is it that we can each do our part and share in that knowledge, share the knowledge of what it is that we learned? And on that same piece of paper, I had written two different things. I wrote down the words, the law of squares and the law of one. And the law of one is all about the interconnectedness of all beings, that we are all part of a single unified consciousness, that when one person raises their vibration, we're not just benefiting ourselves, we're contributing to a global shift in consciousness, raising the vibration of the planet as a whole. So every act of love, every moment of compassion, every intention for a more loving world creates a ripple effect and amplifies that collective energy and love and light. And I think that that's what we're seeing now throughout not just the U.S., but really all around the world. And I had also written in there the law of squares, and I'm thinking to myself, where did I come up with the law of squares? And it is really the idea that exponentially that each person who calls upon love or meditates on loving feelings, and not only do we experience greater joy and fulfillment in our own lives, but by aligning ourselves with this collective energy, it creates a ripple effect that goes out. We also contribute to a more harmonious and loving world for all. And so I thought, in some way, my guides were guiding me to answer that exact question. How is it that somebody who perhaps maybe has a limited belief about stress and struggle and pain can start to shift that pattern to a place where they see the different possibilities that are available in their life? And of course, as Michael, in his infinite wisdom, sent me a wonderful video this morning, and it talked about miracles and doing exactly that. And, Michael, I'll let you share with the audience what it was that inspired you to send it to me and to sort of open up the gateway for this conversation.
Well, It was from Abraham, and channeling of Abraham from Esther Hicks. And I've watched a lot of these, and I watch them in order to kind of align my vibration with what's possible. And it's easy to become mired in the 3D world of what's going on outside of you. And to also forget that what's going on outside of us and how it makes us feel is created by us. We each individually do that. We can choose the frequency we resonate at. We vibrate, in which we vibrate. We can choose that. And when we have desires and we want things, one of the things that we have to do, and for some people it just seems overly simple, and to others it's a conundrum, and that is we have to resonate at the frequency of what it is that we desire, not what we are, not the reality that we are perceiving at the moment. We have to perceive in our minds a different reality and resonate at that reality. Be grateful for it. Be joyful over it. Be loving of it, and feel it, and separate ourselves, disconnect ourselves from what we actually see out in front of us. And this is how you maintain happiness and joy in a war zone. That's what you're doing. You're actually focusing on what it's like not to be in a war zone. What's not to be to have disruption and discord and people who are negative beyond negative, focused on the 3D world and involving themselves in resonating the tragedy of what's happening around them and being sucked down by it. This is, there was so Esther Hicks, this video was kind of talking about that, about resonating at, about the frequency, at the frequency of what you were wanting. And it is, this is the thing that fascinates me the most about, law of attraction and manifestation and all of that. And everybody's saying it in a different way. And somehow Abraham, as being channeled by Esther Hicks, happens to put it in a way that does resonate with me the majority of the time. And it's a different way. I listened to two or three people. And in this particular case, the conundrum is that we focus, and the reason I love this video is that Abraham points out that we have things going on around us that we're investing in. Not what we're wanting. It's not what we want, but it's what we're investing in. And we have to shift our focus and attention and feelings and thoughts towards what the solution is, not the problem. And it's so interesting. And what she was saying in this particular video, which was the ultimate conundrum, is that when we find our world around us in chaos, she says, go do something, forget that. Let other people deal with that. You go off and do something that brings you joy, that makes you happy, makes you dance, makes you excited and passionate about life. Ignore that, right? She actually went on to say, when your family is having a problem, and instead of becoming mired in the problem, if your child's acting up, whatever it may be, your significant other is having issues, troubles, whatever, and instead of investing in that, investing thought and energy and emotion into that, let it go. Like, leave the room and go to another room. Go somewhere else and do something that go do an art project. And the reason that you do that is because investing in the energy of negativity only begets more negativity. It doesn't, and it continually manifests in an endless loop of negativity. But when you also you become mired in the problem. You're thinking about the problem, and it's very challenging to come up with a solution when you're mired in the problem, right? This is the way it is in life. And that endless loop of negativity doesn't allow you to allow a solution to materialize. And by going off and experiencing joy and fun, whatever, putting on your favorite music and having a personal dance of one, you know, for me it might be coming up and playing the drums, or taking the dog out for a walk, or going in the backyard and playing with the dog, or, you know, our new puppy, or whatever it may be. Going and seeing some friends, getting together for and having a game night, whatever it may be. By doing that, the solution appears.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out of the positivity. It doesn't come out of the negativity. And I see, you know, I mean, we've got fires burning in Los Angeles. I've gotten dozens of calls. Is your brother okay? Because he lives in West Hollywood, about I'd say a mile and a half from where the fire zone was. And but he was in the flatlands. He wasn't in the hills. He was in the cement jungle of it all in West Hollywood. And I'm like, no, he's totally all right. He's not focused on the fires themselves. But listen, everything you hear, everything you're exposed to about the fires is absolutely negative, except for the story where that comes along every once in a while, where this guy yesterday found both his dogs. He had to leave.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, the one where the fireman broke down the door and got both of his dogs out and reunited him with his dogs. And this guy, and you know, it's such a joyful moment. Such a joyful moment. However, the majority of what you're going to find, whether it's that area, whether it's the Israeli Gaza, whether it's one of the other 27 conflict zones in the world, something happening, this election didn't go the way I wanted to, and, you know, the wrong guy won, the right guy won, whatever. We have a tendency to become mired in that 3D environment, thinking that it's real and that's benefiting us, when all it's really doing is creating this endless loop of misery and discord and anger and frustration and worry and fear, right? And that's really what, you know, I'm thinking to myself, and I was telling my girlfriend yesterday, the fires in L.A., they've been, you know, they're front page news, the first story coming out on the news cycle right now because it's the hottest game in town for basically trafficking in grief, other people's grief. And that's what they do. That's what the news does. They traffic in grief. So if you become sucked in by that, then it's going to make it that much more challenging for you to be happy in the moment. Yet it's your right to be happy and have fun where you are, doing what you're doing, wherever that is in the world, right? So,
which is why I don't watch the news.
Exactly.
I get chastised for that a lot. You don't know what's going on. Well, yes, I do. I get snippets, but it becomes, for me anyway, it's all about focus, and that's what I appreciated about the Abraham video, because focus, she said, is what you are giving your attention to. And and one of the things that I loved in that video was, she said, how you focus, and I practice at looking at the best of life until I've practiced that vibration. And she said some people in their minds will say, how dare you turn your eyes away from those who need you most? And then she said, but I give the answer that not exactly what they were expecting, but it's exactly in the midst of trouble, you say, I turn the other cheek, because in turning away from that which troubles me, I turn away from the problem, but I turn towards the solution. I've tuned myself to the solution of life. I've tuned myself to the frequency that provides me the solutions. So while I welcome problems, because solutions are so fun to find. And I just thought to myself, and she went on to say, like, stop wallowing in the problems and enjoy the interaction. And I really appreciated that, because I find myself in my own life doing that, you know, my life is, we talk about a lot of things. There's a lot of different things, and even in your life, Michael, there's not a day that goes by that I don't have something come up but it's how I choose to approach it. And
right.
even if it's just having a problem with my phone, if I walk into the store, the provider, and I have a scowl and I bring in my phone and I slam it down and it's not any good, and I'm going to get welcomed with that. But I always go in with a smile. I'm like, hi, how are you? Yeah, is there a possibility that you can help me? I'm having some issues with my phone. And people are more than happy to help you.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole energetic vibration of it. And it goes back, we had a conversation, I don't know, I think it was last year, one of the shows, about actually the cellular voltage and the signals that our body gives off. Every cell has a positive and a negative charge. Mm-hmm. And when I was learning in thought field therapy, which is very similar to EFT, which is energy psychology, and I studied energy medicine with Donna Eden, and you start to recognize where the energetic vibrations are. So at the top of your head, if you put, just like a battery, we're just like a battery. We have a plus on the top of our head and a minus on the bottom. We have voltage inside and out of us. And so if I am putting batteries into a flashlight in the incorrect manner and I go to turn on the switch, I'm not going to get any power to the light bulb at the end of the flashlight.
Right.
It has to be in alignment. And so every cell in the body has voltage. We are a walking battery, and we have over 50 trillion cells in our body. So if we have 50 trillion cells and 1.4 volts in every cell of the body, that's 700 trillion volts of electricity that I'm putting out. And so I am impacting my environment. And so for those perhaps that are may not aware of how powerful you really are, you truly are. That's a lot of energy. So that when you, as Esther said, when you go in and you meditate or you shift your focus, you're directing that 700 trillion volts of electricity towards something that's positive.
Yeah. And when we collectively do it, guess what? It gets even bigger, right? It gets exponential, right. like your first, like what you wrote, becomes exponential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't you love that?
And that's how we make them. And that's actually it's what I continue to write on that same piece of paper. That when we go into that space, every person that has that feeling in that loving space and wants the world to be more loving adds exponentially to the number of people who are called to this. So the calling becomes that much greater. And I do believe that that's where we put our point of attraction, and to be able to have the calling towards a more loving world. And it's very interesting that some of the different celebrities that I've seen, I just caught a snippet this morning of Steve Guttenberg, who had been in 3 Men and a Baby, and I'm not sure all of the other different movies he was in. Oh my gosh, so many different ones. Cocoon, I think, was one of his early ones. But he was on the street, literally helping neighbors with his neighbors, like working in the front lines. It was just amazing. And Jimmy Fallon was speaking to him, and he was joking, but it was a very serious matter. And that was what he was called to do. And I think that's where a lot of people are finding themselves. They're stepping up to the plate in a lot of different ways. It's just beautiful to see.
That's true. When people come together, yes, those hills that in the Pacific Palisades and Altadena and others, there are a lot of celebrities that live up in there because those houses, and they have lived there for a long time. And those houses are worth a lot of money in Pacific Palisades. And so a lot of celebrities, musical and movies, you name it, entertainment celebrities live up in those hills. So, they're people just like us, and come together. And I think the Duke and Duchess were also quietly, just not necessarily incognito, but not making a big spectacle out of the fact that they came to out of Monticello and just help people several times in a couple of days, to hand food out to people and make sure people were taken care of with what they needed. You know, I'm going to tell you something. I told this story, I don't know, probably a couple of years ago, and I've got the book right behind me on my bookshelf. It was a reverend by the name of Chet Castellaw, and he actually had this exact example of two people whose houses burnt completely to the ground with nothing left. And he said, you know what? He says, you've got two choices here. You can either be the person that sits down and grieves and talks about how nothing will ever be the same, and the energy of lack, and the energy of grievance, perhaps, how and why, who's responsible, that sort of thing. Or you can literally be the other example, the other side of the coin, which is someone whose house is just burnt to the ground, and they're sitting there with an easel, and they're drafting a picture of how they want their next house to be, and what they would like it to look like inside and outside, what they would change, what they would do differently, focusing more on the solution to as we're talking about, to what's going on, because nobody can go back and change what has happened. And so how long we spend thinking about it, what we've lost, the lack aspect of it, and everything that goes along with it, because that's a perception, okay? A perception that nothing will ever be the same, a perception that we've lost everything. Yeah, you might have. It's true. People losing down in Florida all the time from floods and hurricanes. I mean, people it gets blown away by tornadoes. It's gone, decimated. And you have a choice, always have a choice about how to approach it. And you can either be focused on the problem, or you can focus on the solution, as you just said. The solution is a more positive, fun, joyful process that brings a lot of positive energy to bear, all the cells in your body to bear that energy. And what you and I can do, which is what we're already doing, is think positively about everyone's situation and think lovingly about the solutions to their problem. Be a resonator of love and compassion and empathy. And basically, I could just sit down and see that whole area of Southern California just blanketed in a bright light of love and compassion and empathy. And we who aren't there, that's what we can send there. We can send there. Yeah, we can also donate, which is what some people just do. That's they'd rather not think about it, but just donate money, which is fine. However, the impacting the consciousness is going to come from a higher level, in my view. And I don't know if you agree, but yeah, it's going to come from a higher level. And we can impact that whole region in a very, very positive way. The people who've had problems, and every other region in the world that's having issues, we can impact it in a positive way. And there's scientific proof that can occur. That our resonating positive energy, loving energy, compassionate energy does actually have an impact on the consciousness of an area. And I love that idea. I love the idea of being solution-oriented instead of mired in the problem and all of the perceptions and feelings and actions driven by that. That's just something beautiful about being in a loving space and maintaining that loving space. Is, as you said, when you go in and you have a problem with your phone, when you're coming from a loving space, that expansive energy from loving yourself and loving life, it resonates far beyond you, far beyond what any negativity could resonate. So you walk in the door and people notice you and they want to help you because you make them feel good, and they don't know why they feel right. They have no idea why they feel great with you, but they do. You got to smile, carrying yourself, and that, more of that. There are people who deal with challenges or what other people determine to be problems all day long. And if they don't have any sort of protection from it, any sort of mindset that they can remain in, that keeps them detached from, being mired in the problem instead of focusing on the solutions, right? Because it takes a lot of positive energy to be in a solution-oriented mindset, a loving, kind, and empathetic mindset, in customer service or otherwise when you're dealing with people. It is possible. I've been on both ends of the both sides of the coin when it comes to that, and I can tell you personally that the loving side, empathetic and compassionate side, can cut through a problem to a solution like a hot knife through butter. It's beautiful to see people's disposition change. Their disposition changes. Everything about them changes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see. And then they end up being like your good friend for like ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's loving.
No, and I think, Michael, and it's interesting you brought the fact up about the story about the man being reunited with his dogs. I saw a lot of beautiful videos of people rescuing animals and
horses out there.
Horses, but the dogs. There was a movie several years ago with Amy Adams. It was called Leap Year, and in the movie, the premise is a little fun. She wanted to get proposed to by her boyfriend, and he wasn't doing it, and so she went to Ireland, and she ended up. There's a lot of interesting series of events that got her there, and she was going to propose because it was a leap year, and the gentleman that she met, he had a very different viewpoint than she had. She was from New York and very uppity, and just. It's just a really sweet comedy, and
it was good. Yeah.
He poses to her like, what would if there was a fire? What would the one thing that you would get? And she goes through all sorts of different things, and she ends up getting engaged to the boyfriend and back in New York, and she's looking at all of the things that she thought were so important to her that she was come to a realization it didn't really matter. And so she pulled the fire alarm. And her fiance came in, and he was getting his computers, he was getting everything else, and she was just standing there and waiting for him to notice her, that she was one of the most important things. And he didn't see it. And I think that whenever you have a challenge like what's going on in California, it does make you reflect. And the animals, the things, the people, getting them out safe. I saw one of the Hollywood actors, and he was cramming his teenage daughter's 17-year-old clothes into their car and hampers full. And I thought to myself, well, that's really not important. That's not, in my
17-year-old's clothes.
It just
it was important to her.
It was important to her, and then there was love in that, and I will say that absolutely. But it made me reflect about that time, and so for me, the first thing I would get is my animals. They would be most important. All the other stuff can be replaced. It's just stuff. The other things that really mean the most are the people in your lives, and I think that when we're seeing that, like you said, with the horses and even the deer, the wildlife, some of the things have just been absolutely amazing. And I think that when we see stories on the internet of an animal that was entangled in a net and it's freed by human intervention, and it's very heartwarming to see that. And it shifts that vibration, and I think sort of that's what Abraham is trying to teach us, that when we look through the eyes of vibration, it allows us to integrate a different perspective on the world and to be able to attract in what we really want.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. That is, it's amazing when you're going back to the Leap Year movie, which I did see. It was a beautiful movie, by the way. And that part when she looks to see what he's getting, it's a wake up call, right? You're wondering whether someone you care about that you're going to spend the rest of your life with is really concerned about you, or they're concerned about stuff, right? And things, and what is valuable to them. And the gentleman back in Ireland who'd fallen in love with her, it made her realize that that particular person actually had the mindset of love and caring unconditionally for her, that her, the person she thought was to be her fiance didn't have. Those movies are very formulaic like that, which makes them really interesting. The way that they pull that formula off every time, and the story.
But there were some hysterical things where she was trying to catch the train, and they were up looking at a very special place in Ireland, and it starts pouring down rain, and she runs down the hill, and she slides, and she's just completely covered in mud. I mean, she's just such a great comedic actress. But it doesn't matter how many times I watch that movie, I still laugh and laugh and laugh at that part.
Yeah, it makes you feel good too, and reminds you of, again, in your own life. Those movies, in my view, are really, written to help people, really discern what is most important in their lives, to bring them back, to that reality. There were a couple of very interesting people that were interviewed at the fires in LA who were just talking about how, hey, we got to start all over again, and we'll make it. We'll build it even better this time. We'll have, we're alive, and that is a blessing, and we'll move forward. The rest is just stuff. We're all together. We're together.
Right. Well, and look at how many acts of kindness, no matter how small. I watched somebody just, bring some food to a homeless person. They said, no, please give it to somebody else that really needs it. I thought, wow. I mean, isn't that amazing? And they're in need, but they said no, they wanted it to go to somebody else that was affected by the fire. So that small act of kindness created a ripple effect, because everybody that witnessed it extends far beyond it. It gives you a different meaning, so that perhaps somebody doesn't have the best viewpoints towards the homeless, but then they witness that video, and the next time they see a homeless person, it shifts something in their heart, and I think it helps us create a more loving world, and that's really what each of us is trying to imagine.
Well, there was a gentleman who was here in Florida, who was a professor, and he literally became unhoused on purpose and lived on the streets because he wanted to see what the other side is like, how people treated him. And he did it on purpose because he wanted to create a program that actually helped people who were unhoused, and actually help shift the mindsets of people who the people who were housed had about people who were unhoused, which is, by the way, the new term. I think that came out of California, unhoused versus a homeless, which is interesting.
Okay.
It's a very because the word homeless has lack in it.
No, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Thank you.
They really don't have less.
I like that. I like that.
Unhoused, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Some of you say, why are you being politically correct? Because technically, energetically, language matters. Mm-hmm. Language matters.
Absolutely.
Language has vibration. Language has a frequency. Every word has a vibration. And when you say unhoused, you don't get the same negative perception, negative connotation that you get when you say unhoused. Unhoused is temporary. I'm temporarily unhoused, right? Instead of I'm temporarily homeless. Homeless. I have less of this and less of that. It's a frame of mind, and I tell people all the time when they're doing whatever. In my other podcast, Life Moves, I've talked about it in this podcast, and we've had shows about it. The language that you use, and Abraham, by the way, says this all the time, and so does Bashar. The language that you use is important when it comes to manifestation, the process of actually realizing your desires, your wants, whatever it is that you desire in life. It is imperative that you align your language. The frequency of your language has to match the frequency of what you want, what you desire. And the people, because the language that you convey, if you want something, yet your language conveys whether doubt about getting it, about receiving it, it's involved in lack. When what you really want is abundance, it's a red flag that you're not aligned on the frequency of what you want, what you desire.
You're right. You're right. And I think sometimes what is joyful for you is not always joyful for somebody else. And when you start to take back that sovereignty and own that power. There was a woman that I just tuned into. There's a wonderful, they call it, I think, 60 Seconds. And they featured a woman, her name's Deborah Rapport, and she makes hats out of found material. So you talk about reframing things. She literally picks up trash, but she doesn't see it as trash. She just sees it as discarded items. And she makes, so she goes into trash bins. She picks stuff up off of the floor, and she looks at it, and she's like, oh, my goodness. And she is in New York City, and she recycles, and she goes through the free cycling, and she goes into landfills, and she makes high-fashion trash hats. I mean, even like out of like a egg crate, you get your eggs in, an egg carton. It's just, but I love it. I used to do found object art, and I'm sure a lot of people, if they would have seen her looking through, and she's eccentric in her dress, but her hats are amazing. And it's interesting how she finds things, and she gets so joyful. She'll like see something on the street, and she picks it up, and she's like, "This is it. This is the one piece that I was looking for to make my masterpiece." And I think a lot of us, I'm a huge recycling fanatic, and I have a hard time throwing things away if I know that somebody can use it, or if I'm driving and I see some perfectly good chairs that somebody put out for the trash, I'll put them in my car and I'll take them down to Goodwill because somebody can use them. They don't deserve to be trash.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
I
agree 110%. Yeah, I'm actually very much the same way. I don't like, it's interesting in our neighborhood, somebody who doesn't want something will just put it out at the curb. And I guarantee you, within a day and a half, it'll be gone. Somebody will have come by and taken it and appropriated it for some use, either what it was intended for or something different. And it's a beautiful thing. I myself have gone down and said, wait a minute, I could actually use that, for something. And I'll come back and get my truck and go down and get it. It's just, or there's a Goodwill across the street. It's very simple, it's very, very close. So I'll have a pile of things that I collect and by the back carport door. And when I get enough, I will take them to Goodwill and drop them off. Putting stuff in a landfill, if you've never been to a landfill, number one, that experience alone is one that should create a shift. And back when I was in college, my first summer, after my first year, I worked on a road crew with the Department of Public Works in Sacramento, the Sacramento County Department of Public Works. And I worked on a road crew that actually went out and around in the 100-plus degree heat of 2 months during the summer, 2.5 months actually. And what we did was we cleaned drainage ditches. We made sure that there were the grasses and things that were preventing the water from flowing appropriately wasn't there. So we would load up a dump truck a couple of times a day. And this happens to me because I'm very positive. I don't complain about things. I have a very, I have a positive disposition. And that positive disposition has gotten me, has created more miracles for me than anything in my lifetime. So if you need any, I'm a walking example of how being positive can actually bring these wonderful things your way, these miracles. And one of the miracles of that summer is that within a day, my first day of work, the old guy that was driving the truck, he said, hey, he looks at me, he goes, why don't you come ride with me we'll take this to the dump. You don't have to, do this work. So the other guys were left working in the heat And I went to the dump with him. So I would go to the dump twice a day with him. He said, let's go. And then on the way back, we get some lunch or whatever. He was just a really cool guy. But he had great energy, and I believe I had great energy. And he evidently saw something in me in terms of responsibility, energy, or something that loving energy that actually made him go. Now, I'm telling you this because that was my first foray to the dump. We're talking about, in most places, the top of the hill, okay? Because
yeah, sure.
They and in Sacramento and at most dumps, the guys who work there will walk through and pick things out that can be salvaged. People will dump stuff off of trucks, whatever, and these guys will walk through and they have a pile of stuff that they're pulling out that can be salvaged. And I'm like, wow, who would throw that away? Why don't they just give it to Goodwill or a thrift store or something, right? Or, well,
right.
At the time I did this was the 70s, so quite frankly, there was nothing, no Facebook, no internet, no social media. You had a dial-up phone, okay, so on the wall or plugged into the wall. So you had limited opportunities for finding other people, for putting people together with items, which we we've got an ubiquitous amount of different ways that people can be connected with, free stuff today, right? And so it was really, it's an experience if you ever do it. I've been to the one here 3 times, and Hurricane Michael that came through here, rolled through here, and a Cat 5 storm in 2018 created. Listen to this: 600 million cubic tons of debris.
Wow.
We're talking, that's house debris. We're talking about, tornadoes, 100 and 200 plus mile an hour winds. I mean, stuff just getting blown down. All this stuff had to go somewhere, and it took the hill at the dump. It tripled it in size, almost like overnight. It took about a year to clean everything up. But honestly, it's back to your original point. Things can have 2 or 3 lives if we make sure that happens, if we put them in the system that enables them to be able to do that. And also, hey, if we just think twice about whether or not we need that item to begin with, right? There's always that side of the coin where, you're thinking, oh, I want that, but do I really need that thing? Can I do without it? Do I really need to buy that extra thing? And, when people start cleaning out their house for one reason or another because they're going to move, and they discover they have all the stuff that they collected, they accumulated. And, the fun part of it for me was actually giving it a second life when I moved from my beach townhouse. Giving it a second life. When I moved from California out, I gave a lot of stuff a second life with someone who would appreciate it. And that's wonderful. There's a lot of joy in that. Lots of love, lots of joy in that.
Yeah, I know. And I think, as you said, with the rise of the internet, a lot of times I'll just take a snapshot of what's on the curb, and I'll put a thing up there. It's not my stuff, but free curb alert. Because a lot of times people will put a sign on, and I always think, geez, it's such a shame nobody picked that up.
I only have really true. People will come from around. Yeah, they'll come from all around. I've got 2 friends that actually, believe it or not, my nephew, when he went to UCLA, they furnished, he was in an apartment with 4 guys, with 3 other guys. They furnished their entire apartment on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
For pennies. And I have a friend who just moved. When they moved here and bought a house, Facebook Marketplace. They went and they found things, and she designed this incredible interior to their home through Facebook Marketplace. I had another friend who just did the same thing. Created this really, really this awesome eclectic mix of beautiful furnishings that resonated with them. See, this is the whole idea. You obviously don't want to just get stuff. You want to get things that actually resonate with you, so that when you walk into your place, the energy in there is so high because you've infused everything in there with love.
Right. And it opens us up to new possibilities, Michael. I think that going back to that thing, that that maybe you don't have the money to go purchase a couch from a fancy store, but you've got somebody that was a student and they were from another country and they're leaving and they can't take any of this with them. And you're doing them a favor because you're purchasing basically a brand new couch. Maybe it's been used for a year, and they don't have to move it or they don't have to dispose of it. They don't have to put it in a landfill. And you've got a great new piece of furniture. And it's a win-win for everybody. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
It is. When we not to belabor the point, but when we went from, we were redoing, my girlfriend wanted to buy a new bed and nightstands and, the whole bedroom set for one of the master bedrooms that we have here. This is the guest bedroom. And I said, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. So I take the bed apart and I put it out on the carport. I take the dresser, the high boy, out to the down as well, and the nightstands and everything, and put them in the carport. And I took pictures when I went out there, and I put them on Facebook Marketplace. I said, free to a good home, And I can't tell you the number of inquiries I got, And I simply went to the very first one. I looked to find the one that was the very first one, which was, I think, at like 11:57 in the evening. And I literally texted them back and said, yeah, when can you pick up the bedroom set? And then I ended up, they came, but they didn't have a truck to carry everything. But I have a truck. So I came in the house and told my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to pack this stuff onto our truck and follow them. He could take the high boy, but he couldn't take anything else, but I could. So they helped me load up my truck, and I took the stuff over to where they lived. And they just moved to town. They didn't have anything. Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's like,
funny.
But it made me feel really, really good that it wasn't going to waste, And it's like, oh yeah, what was it worth? Maybe it was worth $150. Who cares? Let's give this to somebody who really doesn't have the ability to spend $150 on a bedroom set. And let's just see the smiles on their faces. It's fun to do that. It's fun to recycle things to people who actually love it and want it. It's amazing. It makes you feel really, really good that it has a second life.
It does. And who knows, Michael, this conversation may inspire somebody to take the energy and see something that they don't need and share it with somebody else. So
sharing economy.
It brings more love into somebody's life and shifts consciousness and helps to raise the vibration of the planet as a whole.
That is
it's
so
that
true.
Same thing. It's
so
it's that ripple effect. It is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
That's part of what my spring cleaning is. There's lots of stuff that I no longer need that I'd like to give to somebody else. So I'm filling up boxes and bags and it's all going to go, and I can start fresh. And somebody else can enjoy it, which is really fun.
That it is such a warm feeling, and it's a labor of love to actually do it in the first place. Because you feel good because you're moving the energy around. You're shifting, taking that energy and putting that energy somewhere else and allowing space for new energy to come in instead of hoarding and having the energy be blocked. That's the way I see it. I see it as new energy, old energy. And with new energy comes new opportunities, right? New energy comes new opportunities, new possibilities, okay? That's really what it's all about. And
it brings in joy. It brings me joy anyway. It brings me joy to look at a clean room, and I'm sure it brings somebody else joy to have something new. I mean, I love to treasure hunt, so I know what it is when I find my newest treasure at the thrift store or in a little shop or wherever it is, a yard sale, and I'm like, ooh, look at this. Yeah. And I hang it up. I just actually got was in just a little treasure store, and it's a light-up sign. I didn't know whether it worked or not because it didn't have batteries, but it's metal, and it says love, Love. And I put batteries in and had a little short, and I did some tinkering, and it lights up. So I can turn it on and off. I just have to hang it up on the wall, and then. Pardon me?
You were definitely meant to find that one. Come on now.
I know.
That was in the cards.
Yeah, and then I was in another little shop. I went up to actually I had somebody that was staying at my Airbnb, and she was an artist, and she had a show, and in the front part of the gallery they had a little shop of all different types of things, and they had these letters that used to be part of a drive-in movie theater. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh, there's an L, and there's an O, and there's a V, and there's an E.
That's cool.
And I took a picture of them. I'll post a picture on Instagram because they're just so fun. They're not professional letters by any stretch of the imagination. I think somebody probably had cut them out on their jigsaw years ago. I don't even know how ancient they are, just the types of hooks that are on the back. But right. I'm going to hang them up. And for me, I found it extra special because I thought of all of the dates that went to that drive-in theater, and like all the special times, the laughter, and everybody had to pass by those drive-in signs, like with the marquee announcing what movie. So maybe my LOV weren't used in the same context that I'm going to hang them up as. But I love them. Well, they're funky and fun, and they bring me joy.
The drive-in movie theater was one of the most amazing creations ever because it got people together, and it got families together. It got friends together where everybody could enjoy something really, really cool. I mean, the concession stand was just slammed. You know, you leave your car to go get your popcorn and peanuts or hot dogs or nachos or whatever it is that you were getting at the place, and at the concession stand, which was in the middle. And then you go back and you had a speaker. This was before I started going through them, before you had FM radio connection, where they were broadcasting on FM radio.
Speaker on the thing.
Yeah, the speaker on the door, man. It was like, but it was a fun thing. Our family did that in the '60s, man. We would go to a Saturday, drive-in with the family. I mean, that's what it was about. And you remember those times. You remember those times. And now people are in their homes and they don't see anybody, and they stream movies. Without at least in those days, and you would know some of the other people that you came across, and you can organize a 4 or 5 car, 10 car, a row of people that you actually knew, and during the intermission, because there was an intermission during the movie, you could go hang with them, right? You could go hang with them and talk about the movie and commune. It was like a fellowship night, fun, really, 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 really fun. But the internet has taken a lot of that and sidelined it. It's sidelined a lot of that. Now people are there's a huge amount of people who are actually feeling lonely and feeling alone. And what I say more than anything else is get out of your house. Get out of your house. Whatever it is you like to do, go do it. If you have a passion for something, go do it. And go be with other people who are also passionate about it. Find somewhere where other people are also engaged in that same thing you love. You'll find friendship. You'll find fellowship. You'll find connection, and you won't be lonely.
No, that's so true, Michael.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's all about. But I was very grateful that nobody, because those letters could have gotten thrown into the dumpster and seen as not usable, and they would have been gone forever. And instead, there's something that bring me joy. And it's lots and lots of fun. And you talk about, Abraham talks about it, Seth talks about it. You create your own reality. And so the more, for me, I think I focus on love, and here I am, I'm bringing it in lots of different ways. And yes, it is in objects, but as I walk by them, they bring me joy. And so I'm actually practicing exactly what Abraham was talking about, bringing that vibration into my life and integrating it into things that are important to me. And love is important to me. So when I walk by, it's always a reminder. Yeah,
it's one of the most valuable messages in that 14-minute video was for me, the concept of when you're feeling off, when you're engaged, you've got negative thoughts running through your head or something you need to do, just go do something that, put it aside. As a matter of fact, she went as far as to say, whatever your to-do list is, if there's things on your to-do list that don't bring you joy, don't bring you excitement, give them to somebody else to do. Give them to somebody else today. Today, give them to somebody else to do, or just don't do them. Go do something that feels good to you, that brings joy into your heart, and that you love, and that you're impassioned about. Because you're here to have fun, for Christ's sakes. You're here to have fun. A lot of times people arrange their entire lives around not having fun.
Right.
It's true. The moment when you get out of kindergarten, you got to get serious now. In the first grade, you got to get serious. You can't have fun anymore. And then the rest of your life, you're convinced that everything's about not having fun. And then you have to actually take time to have fun, when really your life should be arranged around fun.
I agree. Laughter.
Be arranged around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What excites you? Well, what Bashar say? Do what excites you, then do the next thing that excites you. And if there are two things that excite you, do the one that excites you just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. What's exciting for you? I like designing shirts for Etsy. I like doing videos for my golf YouTube channel. I like doing, this podcast and my own podcast, and those things bring me joy, and they make life a valuable event. That's what they do. And
that was what Abraham said, and I love the languaging of it, because
exactly.
Abraham said, be in conscious concert, and I love that, conscious concert with alignment.
I knew you were going to bring that in here.
And that's how you bring in ecstasy and passion and thrill. I mean, a conscious concert. And you think about that when you're going to a concert. What is it? It's an orchestration of all of these different players and an audience. And so if we are gathering that in as a conscious concert, that to me, it's like going to be my new mantra.
Yeah.
Focus on my conscious
concert. Make life a conscious. Make every day a conscious concert. It's just another way to describe creating your reality in a positive way. You can do that. You can wake up, no matter where. We have listeners from all over the world. No matter where you are, the thing I'd love to pass on is the reality that you see is, because life is perceptual, is of your own creation. If you're seeing the reality as something negative, that's your perception of it. You can shift that perception right here, right now. That is completely within your control, and that's what we mean by creating your reality. You can make what you're doing fun, or you can see it as something as drudgery. And I always love to see the fun aspect in something that I have to do. If I've got to go pick up, dog poop in the backyard, which I do at least 3 times a day, and I got this new little puppy that loves, to go out and do his business, then I want to have fun doing it. So I'll go out and I'll run around. The puppy will chase me. I'll find the poop. I'll pick it up and I'll run some more. And the puppy will chase me. I'll discover some more. And it's just a fun. It's a fun thing to do. This little puppy's got all, and the funny thing is it'll just stop right in the middle of its run because it saw a bird fly by, and it looks at the bird. It's just, or it'll stop and a bug flew by and it wants to lash out. It wants to bite the bug, right? It jumps up in the air all of a sudden trying to get a bug that flew by. And it reminds you of how you don't have to be so serious in life, that if you just stop and you pay attention to what's around you, there's lots of things to be joyful about that we take for granted. That bird flying by, that squirrel running across the top of the fence, the way they do it, and how fast they can do it. I mean, there's just all kinds of really cool things that you can just focus on that bring you joy in that moment. And in my view, that's what both Bashar and Abraham are talking about as well, finding joy in that moment, in every moment. We've got about 40 seconds left to go. Why don't you tell us what you think, how to finish the show in a way that, if you got anything you want to add, let's put it that way.
I just say that, in a world that often feels divided or unbalanced or chaotic, sometimes it can be challenging to envision a reality where love, wisdom, compassion, wellness, abundance, beauty, and harmony flourish. But I would encourage everybody to be in conscious concert with that. And,
beautiful.
And live your best life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next
Bye-bye.
time.